Hello, Learning at Ease as usual. I welcome you to today's lesson. I thank members for supporting me. I thank those that have subscribed on my YouTube. Learning at Ease is our YouTube channel, and the Facebook page still is Learning at Ease. Those that have liked, those that have watched, those that are following me, I thank you so much. So as I told you, Learning at Ease, we are making learning easy. We have a number of issues we discuss here, but basically academic issues, and specifically geography. We started with the geography, however, very soon we shall enter economics, commerce, etc. We started with the map work. For those that have been following me, I believe you have learned something. As I told you, I have books, and most of the issues we discuss here, they are written in these books. There is this one, Contemporary Practical Geography, Understanding Map Reading and Photograph Interpretation. This book is good. Very many people testify of how they have benefited out of this. There is this one, Geography, Understanding Land Survey, is also another book, same author, and the others are still in the production pipeline. Physical Geography, that is Learning Physical Geography at Ease, will soon be out, and Statistics is about to come out on market. These books are on market. In case you need a copy, you can contact me via Facebook. The page is Learning at Ease. You can send me a WhatsApp message on my number 753 064408. I can direct you where to find the book, or I can make it reach unto you. As usual, today we are having another area we are going to tackle here. I always look for areas which look disturbing to students, and today we are going to look at bearing, especially bearing on a topographical map. Bearing is the position of an object or a point, or direction of a point or a place in relation to a fixed point, and basically here the fixed point is going to be the north line or the zero line. So we are going to look at the position of an object or a point in relation to the north line. Basically here we're looking at angular distance of an object or an area that is taken from the north line to the eye line in a clockwise form. Supposing we are having our object here, assuming this is the observer, we have the observer here, and we have the object here. So we want to trace the angular distance or the location of this object in angular form from this point. Basically, we shall look at the position of this from the north line in a clockwise direction. So, we want to find out what is the angular distance of this from here. And that one is basically what we call bearing. So we have, before we discuss so much bearing, we should know that bearing is supposed to be in degrees. Bearing is supposed to be in degrees. That is a point to note. 2, bearing is always expressed in 3 digits. 3-digit figure. It must be in 3 digits. But we should know that this is basically location of a point, location of a place, or location of anything in relation to a fixed point that is in degrees. So before we go so far, we need to know the types of bearing. Bearing. We have basically 2 types of bearing. There is what we call forward bearing. And the forward bearing is the bearing of an object from the observer. The bearing of an object from the observer as you are moving forward. For example, if the observer is here, we want to trace the position or the angular distance or the bearing of a point from this person. So this one is the one that is observing. So we want to get the bearing, the location of this in terms of degrees from here. So we shall look at the angular distance from here, that is from the north line to the object. This is the object. So the angle at which we see this is going to be called forward bearing. We take bearing forward. Then another type of bearing is back bearing. Back bearing. Back bearing. And this one is the opposite. This is the bearing of an observer from the former, the bearing of the former observer from the object. So previously we looked at the bearing from the observer to the object. Now we want to take the back bearing, the bearing from the object to the observer, assuming that now this is the object. Now this is the object. The bearing should be taken in clockwise direction from the north line, because we remember we are looking at the location of an object or a place from a fixed point, and this point is the north. So now, back bearing, a bearing must be taken in a clockwise direction from the north to the eye line. So now, we want to see at which angle can we see the former observer. So this one is called back bearing. Forward bearing, moving forward. Back bearing is moving back. So back bearing is the bearing that is taken in a clockwise direction from the object to the former observer. Forward bearing is the bearing that is taken from the observer in a clockwise direction from the north line to the object. So when we are getting bearing, now I'm talking about it in terms of map work, topographical map. For a topographical map, we shall use an instrument known as a protractor. Here we use a protractor. So a protractor is an instrument that is used to find bearing on maps. However, when we go to survey, there we use other gadgets, the prismatic compass and other kinds of compass. But here, we are using a protractor. A protractor, you all know it, or we have seen it. It runs from 0 to 180. It is graduated in degrees. Here it is 90, but it is graduated in degrees. However, we have this one and we have this one. But what we should know that is when we are looking for bearing using this protractor, we should always start from 0. There is this one. There is somewhere where it works, but we basically use this one, which is graduated, that is outside. That is what we use basically. So before we go any further, if you are asked to find the bearing of any point on a topographical map, there are issues we need to know. There are steps that we need to follow before we get bearing. One, we should identify the 2 points. Because with the bearing, we must have 2 points. There is a fixed point and the one we want to locate. So we should identify where is the fixed point and where is the point of interest. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is we join the 2 points using a pencil line. Join the 2 points using a pencil line, using a pencil line. You join the 2 points using a pencil line. Point number 3 is draw a compass point. Draw 2 compass points. At each point. Each of the 2 points, draw a compass point. Then check where is the fixed point. Is it on the second point or on the first point? where the fixed point is, you place a protractor, place a protractor, place a protractor on the fixed point. The fixed point, that is the point of reference, fixed point. And then, in a clockwise form, count from the north line, that is 0, where you see 0 on your protractor. The 0 should be on the north line. Count in a clockwise form up to the eye line. The eye line, that is the point, that is the line through which we can see the object of interest. Then, lastly, take readings. Take readings. Take readings. Lastly, the bearing should be in 6 digits. Bearing should be written in 6 digits, in 3 digits, sorry, 3 digits, in degrees, So when you are looking for the bearing, the steps are very simple. Identify the 2 points. Join the 2 points using a pencil line. Draw a compass point. Draw 2 compass points at each point. Place a protractor on a fixed point. Take readings in a clockwise form. Then write the bearing in 3 digits and in degrees. In degrees. We are going to have a simple example. We are going to have an example. But before we get an example, there is another point we need to note here. Is there are 2 words we always use in bearing that confuse students. There is to and from. These ones are very important if you have to answer a question of bearing. I can use A, B. Let me use A and B. Let me have an example of A and B. I can say, what is the bearing of A to B? Bearing of A to B. So always students get disturbed here. What do they want? A to B. You look at this. That means if I'm at A, I want to go to B. A is the fixed point. A to B. Meaning they want the bearing of B. A to B. I want to go to B. That means I'm going to be at A. I go to B. A to B. We want the bearing of B. This is the same as the bearing of B from A. This is the same as the bearing of B from A. These 2 are the same. If I want the bearing of A, I'm going to say, what is the bearing of B to A? B to A. This is the same as the bearing of A from B. These are the same. So these ones disturb students very much. Let us have a simple example. We can be given, maybe they have given us, let us say, they have given us a map extract here. Let us have a simple map extract here. Simple map extract here. Showing this is our simple map extract. This is our simple map extract. Simple map extract here. Assuming you have 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06. Those are eastings. We have northings, maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So they can ask a question. Let us formulate a question here. Let's formulate a question here is, find the Barker bearing of a point at grid reference. Let me formulate a grid reference here. Let's assume we have 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0 to a point at grid reference, 0, 5, 0, 14, 0. So as we said on our procedures, identify the 2 points. So we need to know where exactly do they want to, which points do they want us to find out. So here we are going to identify the points. We are going to identify the points. So look for 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 0, 5, 0, 1, 4, 0. So we know how to get grid references. We discussed that one in the previous lessons. So this one is going to be 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. The point is here. 1, 1, 0 is here. So you can mark this point as A. I'm using A because it's what I used up here. Then look for 0, 5, 0, 1, 40. 0, 5, 0, 1, 40. 0, 5, 0, 0, 5, 0, 1, 40 is here. So this is point B. But now let's assume this is our A, this is our B. We are trying to identify, because the moment you mess up here, you're going to fail it. So they want us to find the backer bearing of A to B. Remember, the backer bearing is the opposite. That means to get the backer bearing, we should first know the forward bearing. So they A to B, A to B, A to B. We said here they want the bearing of B, but the question wants the backer bearing, meaning the question is interested in finding the bearing of B to A. Have you got this? Remember, you said the backer bearing is the bearing of an object from the former observer. That is the backer bearing. Forward bearing is the bearing from the observer to the object. Now here, that means we should first know the forward bearing, then we get the backer bearing. So we said in identification of the points, we have them. Join the 2 points using a pencil line. Join the 2 points using a pencil line. I'm going to use a dotted line. I've joined the 2 points. Draw a compass point at each point. I draw a compass point like this. This is in the north. Even here, I draw a compass point. That is the north. Then place a protractor at the fixed point. That means here we should know the bearing of A to B. A to B, that is forward bearing. Then the backer bearing is B to A, meaning they are not interested in this. This bearing here, this one. This one is forward bearing. That's not what they want. For them, they want the backer bearing, meaning I should know A to B is from here up to this. But for them, they want the backer bearing of A to B, meaning A to B is forward bearing. But for them, they want the backer bearing, meaning they want B to A. Now, after knowing that they want this angle, this one. So we have said we have drawn the 2 compass points. They are there. There is this compass point and this one. Then place the protractor at the fixed point, meaning here the fixed point is now this one, because they want the backer bearing of this. They want this. This is backer bearing. This is forward bearing. So we are going to say, we put a protractor. As I told you, the protractor is this one. Now this D here. I'm going to place the protractor like this. 0 must be here on the north line, because it is 0. We are counting from 0 up to 360. But now for us here, we want this angle from here up to here. So we know that angles on a straight line add up to 180, meaning our bearing, the bearing of B to A is going to be, we have 180 degrees, we put it aside. Then we get this one. How do we get this one? If we had already got the forward bearing, this angle alternates with this one. We would just add on the angle we have here. But since we are on a topographical map, meaning we don't know this angle here. So what we are going to do is we get a protractor. We place it here. Now like this. Again, 0 must be here. 180 must be here. Because a protractor adds up to 180 degrees. So we are going to count from 0. How many degrees are we having here? Assuming it is, let's assume 30 degrees. I'm giving an example. But for you, it will be exactly because we'll be having a protractor. Assuming these are 30 degrees. So our bearing is going to be, the Baker bearing of A to B, is, this is 210 degrees. We say the bearing must be in 3 digits and it must be in degrees. So this is our bearing. Sometimes you can even include direction. How do we include direction? So that means here they wanted the bearing of B. They wanted the bearing of A. Here they wanted here. Forward bearing was the bearing of B. A to B. That means we want this. Then B to A. That means they want this. So what is the direction of A from B? So meaning we would say A is 210 degrees. Because remember, this is a position. In which direction is it? This is north, south, east, west. North, east, south, east. This is southwest. So A is 210 southwest of B. I can say the Baker bearing of A to B is 210. There you will not put the direction. But if I want to put the direction, I can say A is 210 degrees southwest of B. So that is our bearing. That is our lesson of today. Today we have seen bearing. We have seen bearing. We have said that bearing is the location or direction of movement from a fixed point that is measured in degrees. It must be in degrees, it must be in 3 digits, and it must be from the north line. Thank you for attending today's lesson. Continue supporting us, continue loving us. I salute all those that always support me, that always watch out for my new videos. I wish you well. Thank you.